Hi, welcome to At Home with Peggy. We're here at Blooming Acres in front of the brand new chicken coop. We're very excited to be able to have the animals overwinter in this luxurious space, and it's a big improvement over the old coop because this one's big enough for us to stand up in. I'm going to go in and feed the chickens, but it seems like the chicken food is very popular because even Milo's enjoying it. So I want to introduce you to a few of the old hens, and we'll sit around and enjoy some good clucking over breakfast. Well, good morning, all you chickens. How are you this morning? I'm sure you're hungry. Now, some of these chickens were actually shipped here from Illinois, a place called Mary McMurray Hatchery. But others were born at my sister's farm, and she had too many, so she brought a few over. You can see we have this wonderful turkey here. Her name is Uncle Matt, named after my brother. That was the kid's idea. We rescued her from Lee's turkey farm and decided that one year that we would not have turkey for Thanksgiving dinner. We have, however, visited Lee's many times since and have enjoyed their holiday meals repeatedly. But Uncle Matt is our token turkey, and she enjoys living here with the chickens. Now, unfortunately, it's really not a good idea to mix chickens with turkeys because chickens carry a disease that's fatal to turkeys. However, Uncle Matt has proven totally immune and is in perfectly fine shape. She's also more of a pig than a turkey because she eats an awful lot of food. Now, you can see these little speckled ones here are kind of interesting. Those are called guinea hens. And under ideal conditions, we would be able to let them run around, and they act almost like watchdogs. They do let you know. Well, aren't you cozy? They do let you know when anyone is approaching, and they're very good at eating ticks. However, with the fox problem around here, the guinea hens have to stay inside or they wouldn't be around for too much longer. Now, this new coop is very roomy, and you can see the boards up here are in a position that we're hoping the guinea hens will be able to roost up top. Ordinarily, they would roost in trees. There's also a ramp that allows easy access to the inside of the coop, and one of the windows actually opens inside the coop, which gives plenty of sunlight for where they would be laying eggs in the winter. Now, they're very friendly. You wouldn't expect chickens and turkeys and guinea hens to be very affectionate. Now, this one's standing in the bowl, and the other ones are all very hungry. Their pecking doesn't hurt, but they are being quite ridiculous. So why don't you say hi to the camera, Uncle Matt, and we're going to go inside and do a few other things at home with Peggy today. Certainly want to take advantage of beautiful warm days in the winter to start your pruning on your fruit trees. You want to make sure that the temperature is above freezing. That way the wood is less likely to snap when you're actually doing the pruning. This is a pear tree and needs some serious pruning, and I want to get started on it now so that it's ready for spring. You certainly don't want to prune off all of this new growth because this growth that happened last year is what is going to bear the flower buds and the fruit for the coming year. But we have to take off some of this excess. One of the first things you want to do is remove dead wood. Now, there's no real obvious dead wood on this tree at this time, but you always have to remove that first. Then you want to remove anything that's growing straight up or straight down. You can see right here that I removed a branch earlier, and little suckers are growing out of the side that are growing pretty much straight up. We definitely don't need them, so we will get rid of all of these. Now, another very important thing to remove are branches that cross. You can see right here, these two branches are rubbing up against each other. As they grow, the rubbing will get more serious, and either one or both of them will eventually die. Now, in this case, the decision is pretty easy to make because this branch is growing at an undesirable angle down, so we're going to remove this. But I should be able to show you that there is a little bit of damage right here on this branch where you can see that the bark is really being worn away, and that's the importance of being able to remove one of those. Now, some of these branches also need to come off. Anything that's growing towards the center, like this small branch right here is growing straight towards the center of the tree. If that were allowed to continue to grow, it would grow and just create chaos in the middle and obviously rub against more branches. So as a rule of thumb, remove anything that's dead first. Any crossing branches, make the selection. Then you want to remove the branches that are growing towards the center of the tree. And after that, take a step back and see what you have left. You want to get a nice overview, and you want to leave it evenly spaced and do not an excessive amount of pruning, because too much pruning will actually cause too much regrowth the following year. So think sort of moderately. Dead branches, up and down branches, branches growing towards the center, and crossing branches. After that, see what you've got left, and hopefully you'll enjoy a nice crop of fruit come spring. During the gray days of winter, nothing perks you up more than a nice bunch of flowers. And with the holidays coming up, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Easter, not too far around the corner, it's nice to start thinking about different kinds of flowers and plants that would make suitable presents. There is, of course, the traditional roses for Valentine's Day, and we'll get to them in just a minute. But sometimes it's nice to think of something a little unusual or a little creative, or the very fact that a flowering plant will generally last a whole lot longer than any kind of cut flowers. Now, this is one of my favorites, and I think this is particularly good for Valentine's Day, if for no other reason than it has these beautiful heart-shaped leaves. Each one has a little pattern on it and are really very attractive in their own right. So even after the flowers fade, the foliage makes an attractive plant. This one is this beautiful shade of red, and you can see the flowers are very interesting because they sort of go up and down. You can see right here the way the stem sort of bends and the flowers are facing down. But the flowers are beautiful, and not only do they come in this very vibrant shade of red, but they also come in a wide variety of pinks and almost purples and white, and they will last for a long time. Now, once you get them inside, you want to keep them evenly moist. Don't let them get too wet. There is a corm that grows right in the center like a flat disc where all the leaves and the flowers emerge, and if that gets a little bit soggy, it will rot quickly. You want to, again, keep it evenly moist, not soggy. Don't let it sit in water. Give it very bright light while it's blooming, a little bit of sun, not too much, or the flowers will fade more quickly, and keep it cool. Now, if you want another alternative, if this one is not suit your fancy, then there's a couple of other alternatives. This plant is called a Kalanchoe blossfeldiana, and it is related to several other kalanchoes, also sometimes pronounced kalanchos, that make excellent succulent houseplants. Now, it has these beautiful flowers that are, again, come in a wide variety of colors and are very long-lasting. However, the chances of you getting it to bloom again inside are slim to none. You want to give this plant plenty of sun because it is a succulent and you can feel the nice thickness on the leaves. You can let it get a little dry in between waterings because it is a succulent, but make sure you do give it a good thorough drink. Now last, and of course there are many others too, but this one is very common, but last that we have here today is the African violet. Now people often just love African violets, and you can have a large number of them in a small space because they don't get very large. I did my master's thesis on African violets and had thousands of them, so now I only have this one. But they, again, they come in a variety of colors, no true reds or true yellows, but all kinds of shades of pink and white and purple, some even that may be all one color edged in a different color. These can do well in indirect light. You want to put them on a windowsill, but they will tolerate indirect light. And again, keep them evenly moist. African violets are relatively easy to get to bloom inside, so just make sure you turn them. Keep them fairly pot-bound if you want to see some flowers, and they will bloom for long periods of time. Now I want to show you some roses and the best way to handle that, so we'll be back in just a second. It is certainly difficult to argue with the beauty of roses and what they represent for Valentine's Day or any other holiday. I would suggest, if you're thinking about sending roses on Valentine's Day, that you get your order in early. More roses are sold on Valentine's Day than just about any other time of the year, maybe even all put together, and they can run out of roses. There's only a limited number out there. Now, I have several different kinds of roses here, and these were donated by Wright's Roses, and they really are quite stunning. Those are in cranberry, as the beautiful plants we have here came from Haggerty's, also in cranberry. So I wanted to show you that once you get these beautiful long stem roses, if you want to keep them looking this wonderful, it's very important to give them a fresh cut. You want to give them a fresh cut when you first put them in the vase, and then a day or two later and throughout the life of the blooms, you want to give them a fresh cut on a regular basis. Now I'm going to take one of the long ones here so I can demonstrate. Now, this is a very nice, beautiful rose with a long stem. It hasn't quite opened yet. I have a bowl of water here. This water is warm, almost hot to the touch. Now you want to make your cut while holding the stem actually in the water. The reason for that is something called capillary action. Inside the stem of the rose are lots of tiny little tubes, almost like plumbing, inside the rose stem itself. And as you make the cut, the fluid inside the stem gets sucked up just a little bit, creating a concave space of air. That becomes a bubble inside the stem, and as that bubble travels up the stem and gets to the rose, it will actually cause a spot where there will be no water, and that's very likely going to cause the rose to go limp. So if you make the cut holding the end in water, then instead of uptaking a bubble of air, it will suck up water when it makes its cut, and you eliminate that bubble of air. In addition, warm water is taken up more efficiently by the plant than cold water, so you definitely want to make the water warm to the touch. Use a very sharp knife and cut at an angle. Now you can see that is not a straight cut, and the reason for that is the end of the tubes are then a larger opening than if it was straight and circular. So it will take longer for bacteria to build up in the water and clog the opening. We're going to put this one right back in here, and hopefully it will bloom. The others all had fresh cuts yesterday, so we can leave them just like that. Now eventually, however, the roses will begin to deteriorate, and while that breaks my heart, nothing lasts forever. What you can do, while these are still really beautiful, we will sacrifice one for demonstration purposes. One thing that you can do to make the roses last even longer is have a pretty little bowl and break off the rose petals into the bowl. What you want to do while they're drying is make sure that you fluff them up every now and then so that they dry uniformly. They will dry, shrivel up, retain some of their color, and be very lovely, and you can use them as a potpourri or just a decoration in your bathroom or on your dresser. And that way you can enjoy the sentiment of the roses for many months to come. Now I have one more thing to show you that's going to help dispel the winter blues. We'll be back again in just a minute. Forcing bulbs inside for blooms during the winter time is another great way of getting rid of the winter blahs. Now, a lot of these bulbs are kind of tricky if you want to do tulips or crocus or even hyacinth, because they require chilling. So if you want to stick with the really easy ones that are surefire, guaranteed, going to produce you flowers, then you want to do the amaryllis and one of my favorites, the paperwhite narcissus. Now, narcissus is a funny word because that is really the botanical name, but it's very close to daffodil or jonquil, which are both common names. So all jonquils and daffodils are narcissus, but not all narcissus are daffodils and jonquils. So we'll use the general term, and this paperwhite narcissus is actually a non-hardy sort of daffodil jonquil, and you cannot plant these outside because they won't survive the winter. But on the other hand, they do beautifully indoors without any fussing, and when you're done with them, just throw them away because they're not going to be rejuvenated enough growing indoors to produce flowers again the following year. So it doesn't get much easier than that. You plant them, enjoy the flowers, and toss them. Now, bulbs in general, you want to put in a low spreading kind of container, and this is just the perfect size. You can see we can get 6 bulbs in here. They can almost touch. You want to plant them in a way where they will almost touch. And this is just perfect. So you can see that the spacing here will fill up this little bowl perfectly. Now you don't want them touching on the bottom either, so we're going to take these out. You can use small rocks. You can use potting soil. I happen to have potting soil here, and that's very easy and very convenient. It works just fine. So we're going to use potting soil. I've seen it done where they're mounded up in the center. That is very attractive, especially with the rocks. However, I find it's a little tricky to water them like that. It's also a good idea if you have a bonsai container, because bonsai containers have holes in the bottom, and that will help ensure drainage, as well as a saucer underneath to catch the water. So we've put some soil in here. Now we'll place the bulbs again, and this time they should pretty much stay because they'll have the soil around them. And you don't have to completely bury them. That's not necessary. The top of the bulb can be exposed a little bit. Now put this, they will straighten out as the sun hits them. They've been growing a little bit in storage. Now if you want to get these bulbs, you can buy them in mass in the fall because they're readily available in the fall, and then just store them. You can start them every 2 weeks, and that way you'll have flowers all winter long. Some places will still carry these. Florists, greenhouses, nurseries may still carry them, even if your common, more everyday sort of garden centers don't have them, and you can always order them by mail. They're still pretty readily available by mail. But this is pretty much all you have to do, and then you give them a good drink and watch them bloom. Now the more sun you give them, the more upright they will stay, and that's important because if they grow in too dark an area, the foliage will flop over and not be very attractive, and then you have to end up sort of using some sort of support or string, and better to give them as much sun as possible, and then when they come into full bloom, move them out of the sun, and that way the flowers will last longer. But what an easy way to have flowers all winter long. I have a couple more things I want to share with you, so stay with us. It is the farming in New Jersey that makes us the Garden State, and all too often people are forgetting that. One of the projects that I've been working on in conjunction with many of the members of the farm community is to have a license plate that recognizes why we are the Garden State on as many cars as possible. We came up with this beautiful design that has the representative vegetable crops in front, some of the things that New Jersey is most famous for, the tomato, sweet corn, and peaches, as well as some cranberries down here, and a beautiful farm scene with a horse and a silhouette of a barn. It still says the Garden State, unlike some of the other license plates that may represent a really worthy cause, but take the words Garden State off the plate. This plate cost over $50,000, and the money was donated from the farmers and the farm organizations throughout the state of New Jersey. These are currently available at your DMV locations for only $20. That makes them unique. And there is also no annual renewal fee, which again makes them different from all of the other license plates that are available. The final thing that makes them unique is that these plates are also available on commercial, farmer, tractor, and farm use plates. Again, all for $20. Now you can go to your local DMV location and have these plates readily available. All of these must be done by mail. Also, if you want a personalized plate, that too has to be done by mail. You can go to DMV and pick up these forms. This would be the form that you would use for a non-personalized plate in any of the 5 possible characters that you could get down here. Now, this is the form that you would use that if you wanted a personalized plate, which is only available on the passenger. Now, this would cost $20 for the plate and then an additional $50 for the personalization. Again, though, that is only a one-time fee. If you're interested in seeing the plate one more time, you can go to the motor vehicle website, and that way you have a picture of the plate so you can convince yourself that's the one that you want, as well as all the information you may need. Please get a supporting New Jersey agriculture license plate. The money, as it comes in, while it does not go to a fund, will replace the $50,000 put up by the farm community. After that, any extra money will go into the state general fund. There's no cause, only that the farmers are proud that they are why we are the Garden State. Now I really want to share something with you that goes back to my childhood. This bizarre looking tool here was something that was in my house when I was growing up. And it was well used and worn out by the time I was growing up, because I'm the youngest of 8 children. You can see this poor little thing is missing one handle, and this little thing that goes on this handle is not attached, and it's been blackened with age. It has a variety of names. I'm not sure any of them are accurate. I've heard it referred to recently as a cookie pie maker. It can be used out camping on a fire, and in which case you can use both of these little cookie pie makers. If we're going to use it on the stove, you can really only use one. It opens up so that you can make 2 at a time, either on a fire or even on a barbecue grill. But for the stove, we'll only use the center one, and you make sandwiches in it. Now, you may think, well, what am I showing you this antique one for? But actually, I found this one pretty recently. So they are still available. I found this one about 2 years ago, and it's a little sturdier, and the handles are intact. So generally, I will use this one. However, my son, who for his birthday last year, he just turned 9, asks for these applesauce and butter sandwiches as his birthday dinner. So then I get both of them going at the same time. Now I'm going to make one of those sandwiches because they are a taste treat, something that will certainly surprise you. When I describe them as applesauce and butter sandwiches, people generally wrinkle their nose, but I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. The first thing you want to do is make sure that the inside of these are well buttered. That way, when you're cooking them, it won't get stuck to the inside. Now we're also going to butter the bread a little bit on the inside, because this butter, and you just have to do the center, because when you put it on the little pie maker, the ends of the bread are cut off anyway. All right, now this is just regular old applesauce, and it's better if you use it out of the cabinet as opposed to out of the refrigerator, because it becomes so cold that it might not get heated all the way through if it's cold from the refrigerator. So this is right out of the cabinet, a brand new jar. You don't want to put too much in, but still you want to make it fairly full, nice round circle. Okay, now you take this bread and you put it on a tiniest bit askew, not quite straight. See how that's just the tiniest bit askew? And the reason for that is it will squish over when you close it. And now it's perfectly even all the way around. And you take off these crusts. These will go to the goats. And put this little lock on here so it will stay down while you're cooking it. And you're all set to go. Now this is the fun part. Turn the flame all the way up, and then maybe down just a hair, and you put that over there, and you want the flame to pretty much cover the whole surface. You don't necessarily want it to be bigger than the round circle, but if it's smaller, it may not heat evenly. So this is perfect. And we're going to toast this side, and then flip it over and toast the other side. And you have to keep a real close eye on it, or it'll get burned, and you don't want that to happen. And you can open it, if it's properly buttered, you can open it and check to see how it's going. Generally takes about 3 or 4 minutes to do one, so I'm going to show you again when we're getting close to the end. There we go. I would say that is absolutely perfect. Came out nice and easy because we had plenty of butter on it, and this is one delicious sandwich. Now I'm going to cut it for you so you can see what it looks like in the middle. Oh, and it is hot, it is hot. And you will be amazed at how absolutely luscious, and it's without question, you can eat half a dozen of these, but they are good. Now this is a delicious taste treat. Particularly wonderful on a cold winter day. Now I'm going to enjoy my sandwich, and I have one more thing I want to share with you, so stay with us. Before we know it, spring is going to be upon us, and we need to do some early preparation, especially if you want to get some of these really neat tools, because you can't generally find them in your local store. You have to order them, so you want to make sure you get that done really quick. Now there are two sets that are distinctly different and have pros and cons. This lovely set is manufactured by Cutco, and you can find information about them at cutco.com if you don't happen to know a local distributor. But they are beautiful tools, finely made. Now one thing is, this purple and yellow handle is supposed to show up in the yard. Not necessarily true. You have to keep an eye on it. But it's very solid, feels really good in your hand. All of these tools do, and they have a lifetime and beyond guarantee. So you can even pass them on to your grandchildren, and as long as you don't lose them, they will always be guaranteed. Excellent quality, really feel good. Usually I go through 2 or 3 of these trowels in a season, and these are almost perfect after my having been using them for a year. Now these are a little different. These are called Buddies, Earth Buddies, and see this, the way they fit over your forearm and keeps your wrist perfectly straight. If you have any kind of wrist problems or just don't have enough strength, these are excellent to give you power. They're a new design and very, very effective in heavy soil or if you need to do some serious digging. The disadvantage is you lose maneuverability and they are a little heavy. But do they ever support your wrist? And that makes a really big difference if you have any kind of carpal tunnel syndrome or tendon problems or need to do a really big job. Now these you can locate at buddies.com, earthbuddies.com. It's Earth, E-A-R-T-H, budeze.com. And again, they will tell you where you can locate them, or you will be able to order them online. Well worth the investment, especially if you are a serious gardener, maybe like me. I use both sets and enjoy them very much. So that pretty much wraps things up for this show. By the time I see you again, spring will be in full blast, and I can't wait till then. So this is Pegi Ballister-Howells at Home with Pegi. See you then.